Hello and welcome to your second instalment of Off Topic on Point. I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
Yep. Our top story. I'm going to start this one off, giving it a quick mix around with a Trump update. So,
Right.
the biggest story on this week is the whole Jerusalem stuff. So to kind of,
That's a story I know absolutely nothing about, so far away.
well, it's tricky really because it's a kind. I guess people are aware of it, like Jerusalem as a whole. but
I don't know about Jerusalem, because of Jesus. I don't know about this stuff. Like, really, we don't learn it in school or anything, so I don't even know what half this stuff means. I know there's Palestinians, and I know they're angry about something.
Yeah, well, I guess the Palestinians live in Jerusalem. It's weird because I was looking at the demographics. Well, it's not weird. Um, for something I've heard nothing about to kind of be thrown. I think a lot of people don't really know that much about it, and really, it doesn't affect them. But I know the whole of the Middle East is in uproar and stuff like that, and I'm trying to figure out kind of why. Because to me, I kind of thought ignorantly that the Palestinians were the only people who have beef, but now you got Qatar coming out and saying, oh, it's a beef, and they're always flipping. The problem with the Middle East is they're all flipping up in arms anyway about anything. Like none of the countries kind of agree on whatever, you know what I mean, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Israel, all Iran, all those kind of
Right.
countries. So I
I
guess,
imagine they have. I can't claim to know this for a fact. I also imagine there might be religious divides as well.
yeah, because I mean, I was looking at a little thing of like Jerusalem split in half for East and West Jerusalem. Now, I'm pretty sure the the Palestinians live on one side, and then the other side's been claimed by Israel. Now, I guess I don't know whether it owns the whole thing or it's been split, but I guess Israel claimed it in the 67-day war, and now they kind of want to make it the capital, but they've kind of been stuck with in a kind of argument with the Palestinians. I mean, the peace deal's been brokered for a while, but it's kind of just offered. It's not kind of written in stone. And one of the big things is Israel wants them to acknowledge that Jerusalem's the capital of Israel, and they're not about that. So you got a big wire fence up. It's kind of like, to don't quote me, like very vaguely, like the Iron Curtain, the Berlin Wall. You got that kind of stuff going on, and like since the news broke, you got the Palestinians throwing rocks over the border wall, and then the Israelis allegedly are responding with live fire. So you got that going on. So yeah, President Trump came out and claimed that he acknowledges Jerusalem. It's kind of like, do you know the one China thing? That you've got Taiwan and China, and that they want to recognise Taiwan as part of China, and Taiwan want to be like some independent thing. It's a lot of that issue, you know what
There's a
I'm...
lot of this breaking out now, and there's the same thing with Catalonia and Spain, I guess.
Yeah. So Trump came out and said that he recognises Jerusalem as a capital. All other countries' embassies, like 84 countries' embassies, are currently in Tel Aviv, and not one of them are in Jerusalem. So Trump's come out and said he recognises Jerusalem. Now the whole Middle East is up in arms. The Prime Minister for Israel's thanking Trump, saying what a great guy he is loving it. So I guess that's a good thing for the US Israel kind of stuff. Uh,
Yeah, but you're pissing off everyone else.
yeah, but I think the US have got an issue with Iran. I think they're going to end up stepping on them anyway because of the nuclear deal with Iran that he wants to kind of sort out. He was always bringing it up during the campaign how Obama gave all this money to them and allowed them to buy uh, nuclear material, as it were. So I really think when push comes to shove, stuff between that would have broke down anyway. So I don't think he's really bothered about that. And then you've got all of them among themselves anyway because of obviously terrorist groups operating and being funded by some of the nations there allegedly. So they're kind of all up in arms because it wasn't so long ago Qatar was getting abandoned by all the other ones because apparently it was funding terrorism and stuff like that. So to be honest, you know what I mean. So although there's a 6-month kind of block going on, he is planning to move the US embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and he'll be the first one to do it. They've already kind of got a land deal's been struck for 99 years for $1 a year for them to build the embassy, and I quote, it's going to be a massive kind of symbol of peace, the US embassy being there. So you kind of got that going on, and yeah, that's the big story, that although a number of other countries I do believe are going to follow suit, but I really think they will probably wait in, like, because the Czech Republic apparently allegedly, don't take my word for it, I mean I've read it, but you know, hashtag fake news, you never really know kind of what's going on. So apparently the Czech Republic are going to do a statement, but to me it was like everyone was sitting and waiting for someone else to come out and say it first. So I mean,
but it's not. I don't think it's everyone though. There are a lot of countries, from what I can tell, including Britain, who are genuinely annoyed that the Americans have done it. And let's not beat around the bush. The American government, no matter who's running it, whether it's Trump, Obama, or anyone else, don't do anything without America's best interest, as they put it, being at the forefront. It's not done this out of the kindness of his heart for Israel. The Americans want something. You're probably right. It's the Iran thing. That's why they've done it. Which really to me says they're more concerned about, I guess, Iran than they are pissing off most of the other countries.
Yeah, well, Qatar's openly come out and condemned it, but from the rumours I've heard about Qatar, you know what I mean, annoying them wouldn't really bother me that much because they've allegedly got themselves knee deep in doo-doo, let's just say. So yeah, I think I agree. But for me, the issue with me is that I'm sitting here and thinking, if 10 other countries last week come out and said they supported Israel claiming Jerusalem as their capital, and then Trump came out and said it, no one would bat an eyelid. But I think because
they would.
But because I think he jumped out first, I feel like
it doesn't matter if he jumps out first. He's the American president. No offense, Czech Republic, but if they say it, no one's going to care, are they?
Well, it's a movement, isn't it? You said about not beating around the bush. I feel like he's kind of thought to himself, look, this is a thing, I'm sick of hearing about it.
It's not him, it's the government. Yeah. Trump hasn't made this decision alone.
I feel like he needed to get out and say it because he's sick of umming and ahhing. You know what I mean?
No, that's not why he said it. He said it because it's not that. He's not sat there. Trump isn't sat in his office thinking, you know what, I'm sick of all this. I'm just going to go out there and say it.
It's like
no way.
It's like the Russian investigation, I feel, has subliminally had an effect in the sense that he's like, oh, I'm sick of hearing about this Russian thing. I've done nothing wrong. I want it to just go away. So he's probably applied it to that. It's like, look, this thing, nothing's going to happen if we just keep burying our heads and don't address it.
You're out of your mind. This is not his decision.
So now, the government or whoever's brought it up has brought it up. with Trump being the figurehead, has brought it up. Now stuff has to move forward because now it's got global attention. Everyone's looking at it. Now something's going to happen as opposed to everyone being
but
like,
is that something he should be doing? It's just anyone else's business. It's their country.
Well, the second it came out, all of them started fighting amongst themselves, and I imagine that's been happening. It's a really shaky piece, so I imagine stuff's been happening on the down low and stuff like that to kind of push it through. Nothing's happened. There's probably rioting and stuff like that going on. So now, you know, when they, you know, the so-called peaceful nations, when they stop fighting amongst themselves and rioting and stuff like that, maybe something could happen. So in a way, I mean, it depends how it all pans out, but in a way, I think it's a good thing because now I feel like it's forced. You know, it's not
the Americans face to force this solution.
No, but
they want something and they've jumped in. And they've forced their way into a centuries-old conflict.
Hashtag the art of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, something's going to happen now. The monk is out the bottle. The cat's out the bag. Something's going to happen now. So that's the main thing. Is it a step in the right direction? Only time will tell. Speaking of which, since we're kind of milling about the Middle East, another Trump win. Obviously last week we had the tax bill. Now the Supreme Court has approved the Muslim nation travel ban. Of course,
wasn't that great?
Of course there's going to be a bunch of appeals, so people...
They won't hold up.
Well, it's not as... Like, if you have a relative in the US... a bona fide relative that you're going to visit, you know what I mean? If you've got family over there in the US...
You can't hold up. It doesn't matter if you've got family. You can't hold up. What's it they always bang on about? The Constitution or whatever. That's what they call it, right? It can't work. You can't ban a group of people from coming just because they have a religion.
What if they come over and start bombing stuff? What happens then?
Well, a white person could start bombing stuff. A black person can start bombing stuff. A Hispanic person can start bombing stuff. You can't just say Muslim, they're going to ban. How does that work?
Well, radical...
Yeah, there's radical everything. There's radical Christians.
Yeah, but it's not...
There's radical atheists.
It's not as prevalent. If we rewind last week, at last year... Christmas time, there was a major thing happening pretty much every couple of days, and that's what warranted it. It's kind of calmed down now. There's stuff still happening, obviously. I ain't turning a blind eye to it. There's obviously horrific attacks still happening and stuff like that. I mean in this
in America, and a lot of them have been by white people.
I'm not talking. If we look at it globally,
exactly. But I know, but that's what you're saying. Not talking, but that's half the problem. You're considering, you're like making up two different kinds of terrorism. You're saying, no, you blow a bomb up, that's terrorism, but some bloke running into a school or a church with a gun and shooting down people, no, that's not terrorism.
No,
it is.
No, domestic terrorism. I didn't say that wasn't. You've just kind of threw that at me, but yeah, I completely agree that is. Yeah, domestic.
Well, that's half the point. You know what I mean? You can't ban Muslims from coming in because they might blow someone up. Most of them aren't gonna.
Oh, well,
it's your job to put your police force to stop that from happening.
I agree that as well, but these countries, he hasn't just singled them out because there's more than 9 Islamic prevalent countries. You know what I mean? He's singled these out purely because a list that was given to him that was in the hands of the Obama administration, who did nothing with it. Big question marks over him supporting, as you can remember, and when we were talking about Jerusalem, Syria is on the list, Yemen's on the list, Somalia, Libya, Iran, and Chad are on the list, who have all got big old question marks about supporting these people.
They do, and I'm not delusional enough to sit here and say that terrorism and radical terrorism in those countries isn't a problem, but I think you're making a problematic thing if you start banning people because of where they come from and the religion they have. Where does that stop?
it was a main part of his of what he was elected to do.
Yes, maybe. I have no idea.
Well, yeah, that, the wall,
But that
draining the
shouldn't be.
swamp, fixing the economy, jobs, jobs, jobs. Hashtag make America great again. So what, he says he's going to do this, a majority of the people agree with it, to keep the border safe and the country safe, and then when he gets into power, what? He does a Barack Obama and just doesn't do anything.
Oh yeah, because of some of the stuff he's saying you just can't do. You can't ban a group of people from coming.
Well, out of the 9 justices, two of them disagreed with it, and the other 7 agreed. So it's got passed. But to be honest, there's going to be a bunch of appeals. So I think Hawaii is already appealing it, even though it's gone through the Supreme Court. So at the moment it's enforced. So however long the appeals take to go through, it could be months, years. I mean, it's been fast-tracked, but I mean, all the legislation and stuff like that, it could be a while before anything happens. So as long as the country's safe. You know what I mean? And there are different things, like, yeah, if you got family members or stuff like that in the
That's stupid. That's stupid.
Well, that was like a big thing, because when it first came down in January, and you had all the stuff going on at the airports and stuff like that. You know, that's why it hasn't been that bad this time, because certain stipulations have been put in there. So there's been leeway. It isn't just a massive, like, you know what I mean?
But you're still ultimately saying if you come from this place, you can't come here.
Yeah, if you don't have any relatives. And you got
well, that's wrong. They just ban immigration.
If you got no reason to be over here.
Why? But that's weird. How can a country of immigrants say you can't come here?
Yeah, but what happens if I just randomly walk into your house and just, you know, start taking stuff and start eating out your fridge?
Anyone can do that. Anyone can do that.
Yeah, but it's illegal.
Why does that have to be?
Exactly,
it's legal. I don't get what your point is. What's your point? Anyone could do that, so why are you banning a group of people specifically?
Look, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just reporting the news.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just posing a rhetorical question.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
Well, at the moment...
That's stupid.
At the moment, it is working. At the moment...
You could be a terrorist, I could be a terrorist, Joe Blogson down the street could be a terrorist, it doesn't matter.
Well, at the moment, the ban's in place, so it is working. So whatever happens from now... You know, we'll discuss it on here. Brian Ross of ABC, he has been suspended for 4 weeks without pay for, you guessed it, hashtag fake news. Apparently running a story that Mike Flynn had been asked specifically by President Trump to start negotiations with the Russians, even though there's no proof of the story. But during the transition in 2016, so he's been ousted out for fake news. And so yeah,
well, he's not been ousted. You say he's been suspended for a month.
Suspended for 4 weeks, but I think allegedly is a notorious offender for kind of, you know, running.
I love that.
Running.
Allegedly is notorious.
Allegedly is notorious for. Running stories through that are kind of not confirmed. So yeah, that's the Trump update. So he's keeping his campaign promises. So yeah, we're just waiting for him to drain the swamp, and we'll see the wall, and we'll go from there.
Happen.
Never happen.
No.
No, the wall will. Honestly. If you were to pick any,
the wall's gonna get built, and the Mexicans are gonna build it. Mexico are gonna build a wall. You think that's
who's gonna build the wall, and Mexico are gonna? Well, then
that's not what he said. That's crazy.
Well,
why would Mexico pay for it?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Well, because it can sanction them.
So how can he?
When the problem is. When he says they're going to pay for it, you, in your head you're thinking Mexico's going to reach into their pocket and just dash him 50 million.
Yeah.
No, that's not that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is there'll be tariffs for goods that come over the wall, not as in that's what we're trying to stop, but there's going to be tariffs for things coming over the border into the US, which are going to be charged, and obviously I think people coming through as well, travelling through, there's going to be tolls and stuff like that. So eventually, you know, as a collective, Mexico are going to pay for the wall over time or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it.
They'll get the money back. That's definitely getting built because they've already Senate's already passed a bill for funding for the prototype. So the wall's definitely going to be built. And I think as soon as he kind of became president-elect and the kind of promise of the wall was looming, illegal immigration had dropped 17%, like boom, straight off the top, as soon as he got elected. So really, I mean, there's no need for the wall. I mean, because they know what's going to happen, so they stop coming over. So I mean, even the threat of the wall, they've stopped coming over. So when it's actually built, no more illegal immigrants doing crime. I know a lot of them are escaping the poor conditions of Mexico, and a lot of them do have good intentions, but as you saw with the Mexican vote, with over 33% of Latinos actually voting for Trump, they're sick of being tarred with the same brush. So they want the illegal Mexican immigrants out as well, because they don't want to be tarred with the same brush. So their reputation.
Okay, well, let's get off Trump.
Yeah, that's the end of the Trump update. Brexit.
Ugh.
A Brexit update. Today being the 7th, Miss May, you have 48 hours to strike a deal or it's all over.
Yeah, it seems to hold. We never know what. It's difficult to understand what half this crap is about, but I think it seems the problem right now is to do with the Irish border.
Yeah, that has to be sorted out by midnight on Sunday, or everything collapses again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if she can't strike a deal, come on, Boris. Boris needs to step up.
God help us all. Because the last thing, no way, he cannot be the Prime Minister of the country.
He would have got Brexit done. Brexit would have been done months ago. If I was Theresa May,
last I checked, you never know. He keeps waffling. One minute he's for Brexit, and next he's against it.
No,
who knows that guy?
Is definitely against it.
No, he's on whatever side will get him the bloody vote. No way. He's a melt.
Nah, he definitely wants Brexit to go ahead. Because, you know, Theresa May promised when she first kind of came into office that, you know, she's not going to be bamboozled, corn-swaddled or flim-flammed out of anything. And here we are months later, a year and a half later, and still nothing's happened. If I was her,
the entire thing's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's what half the problem we got an issue anyway. It's because she made a deal with... She put a vote in, fell flat on her face, and had to make a deal with the GOP. And now that's causing GUP, that's it. And that's causing all sorts of problems. DUP?
Yeah.
We got there in the end.
The GOP is the flipping Republican.
Maybe we need them. But yeah, that's causing all sorts of problems, because the last I heard was about some sort of deal to keep Northern Ireland in a single market, which will not happen.
And now... See, that's what was gonna happen, but I think they were... This is kind of funny, but I think they wanted to keep it amongst themselves, but when that got leaked out of Dublin and everyone else heard about it, then I think it was an exclusive thing for Northern Ireland, being that the DUP is from there. So she was like, look, we'll get you this hot deal, just to prove everything. But then it leaked out, and then I think Wales heard about it and Scotland heard about it, and they were like, yo, holla, you know what I mean? So that kind of all fell apart. So now
that's crazy anyway. How would that work? How would you ever think that work? And also, what? Look, Scotland, I get. Scotland, I get. Yeah, but even if it went through, we would have found out about it eventually, and all hell would have broken loose. Scotland voted, if I remember rightly, to stay in the EU, so that I kind of get. Wales didn't.
I think they're just looking...
What are they playing at?
Well, they're jumping on the bandwagon,
Of course they are. They always do. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
they smell they can get a little summon, and now it's like, oh damn it, everyone. Do you know, like, if you imagine it like Northern Ireland or England are having a party, and like they don't want the party's on Saturday, and they don't want Wales or Scotland to come because they never bring alcohol, and then like Ireland accidentally leaks it, and they're like, yo, we want to come to the party, why don't you tell us about the party? That's the best analogy I can give. So they all want
This
to.
entire thing is a mess. This DUP thing, thank God I got it right this time. That is coming back to bite her in the ass like we all knew it would.
She shouldn't have held I understand why she held the snap general election, because she thought it was going to give her enough votes so she could get Brexit done by herself singly. But
I get her reasoning, but what she got wrong was she didn't check the pulse of the damn country. If she did, she would have known she never would have won.
Well, I think Jeremy
Corbyn
was a massive surprise.
Yeah, but it's the second arrogant move in the same damn year. Same thing. This whole thing was brought about because Cameron never thought it would go the way that it did. He made it look an absolute jackass, and then strolled off, and here we are in this bloody mess. Bunch of morons, all of them.
Yeah. So 48 hours, or it all goes to pot. I think the 50 billion divorce bill has been agreed. Originally, that's why I don't like the EU. I want to slap the EU up, because originally they were sweating 100 million and 80 million. They're trying to get as much cash out of us as possible for this, and I think it's been negotiated down to 50 billion. But that alone annoys me, that they're blatantly trying to get as much as they can. I know that the story came out that apparently they're pushing for a United States of Europe, which is what they've always wanted to do with the Euro, and get a European army and stuff like that. So they're pushing for that. I think if Theresa May would have got this together and done it right, I think the EU probably would have collapsed, or been very close to collapse now, if she actually did things right, got us out of there straight away, and showed that we could flourish without it, which we probably can.
You can't do that. But that's easier said than done. You can't just cut yourself off from the EU. It's too complicated. It just doesn't work that way.
Clearly. Well, if you got good leadership, yeah, because I really do think it's a leadership problem, because she's all over the place. You know, I feel like
I agree.
We're
better off with a better leader, but there's still would cause problems. The deal's going to go on for 2 years. It's nowhere near done yet.
To me, it's all over the place, and I blame the leadership. I really do. She's made many mistakes. I support Boris.
God help us.
What is your thoughts on Uber? Obviously, earlier this year, they got their license revoked from London. And you know, everyone was sweating because the London taxis, black cabs are so expensive that, you know, they won't be able to afford to go places. And now their license has been revoked in Sheffield as well, which will be effective of the 18th of December, so 11 days from now, unless they can file the right paperwork, because they were asked to submit paperwork referring to Uber's management, but they didn't. I don't think apparently they sent it to the wrong place, and it's a light administrative error, but it's enough that their license has been revoked in Sheffield as well. So I mean, Uber's all over the place. You know what I mean? One minute it is top of the thing, and now flipping its licenses are getting revoked everywhere. If it can't get its license sorted out in London, that's a massive blow. That's the time when that comes through, that it's confirmed that they'll lose their license in London and their appeals are all out. That's the best time to buy stock, because you bet your bottom dollar that's going to crash. And this is another quite. I mean, no one's like, Sheffield's like the biggest place ever and stuff like that. But I mean, if your licenses are getting revoked, you know, a couple more
Clearly
places,
they're doing something wrong. No one's going out of their way to victimise Uber, so they're cocking up somewhere. But London, that's a real. Because I heard they lost their appeal, didn't they? That's a real kick in the teeth. That.
Yep.
Well, although I suppose the cab drivers will be happy.
Oh yeah. So people should just buy bikes. Now's the best time to do like a bike, make a bike rental company.
Or go on the tube, or we'll go, you know, look, we don't live in London, but I imagine that must be such a pain in the ass to be in a bloody taxi and drive through that city. Just walk.
I completely agree. So yeah, would you like to move to more stories coming out of Hollywood celebrities
Oh, yeah, why not?
who can't keep their trousers on? Is this something you'd like to handle?
I don't know, what you throw a name at me?
Let's do Mark Schwann, the
Ah.
creator. This. I mean, we may be hitting this a couple weeks late, maybe, but it's still quite a prevalent story because obviously Mark Swan, the creator of One Tree Hill and the creator of Royals, which is the Elizabeth Hurley kind of, you know, satirical kind of thing. Maybe like not satirical, kind of like, you know what I mean, like based on the royal family kind of drama thing. So he's been booted off that because apparently he can't keep his hands to himself. Now I watched One Tree Hill for the duration, stuff like that, big fan, and yeah, to me it was kind of a shock, but literally he was trying it on with all the young actresses. Danielle Harris, obviously married to Jensen Ackles, who played Rachel Gatina. Apparently he tried it on with her, and that's the reason why she left, allegedly. She left, and then she only came back to it in the later seasons because she knew her storyline would revolve around her being around Dan Scott, Paul Johansson's character, and she and I quote, knew that nothing would happen if she was with Paul because he wouldn't dare trying it because apparently I guess Dan Scott would have slapped him up. Maybe that would have been a big thing if that kicked off. But yeah, Hilary Burton again, obviously she had her stuff with Ben Affleck, and apparently he tried it on with her as well. Is there any, I think a lot of the female cast members kind of wrote letters and stuff like that discussing it. They were very vocal about it. Your thoughts?
I mean, the thing is, this one's weird because it seems like, I mean, we hear about what Kevin Spacey was allegedly up to, but he was allegedly putting it about with different people across like a span of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this guy seems to be allegedly going after the cast and crew on his own show, on one show, so one group of people for years. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Spacey groped someone and then we'll never see them again and we'll grope someone else 2 years later. This guy is the same people across the span of years, and he sounds like a real pest as well, if this is true.
Let's have a rap sheet.
Oh, blimey. Let's have a look. Well, Hilary Burton, I think, specifically said, like, he didn't really do anything for the first couple of years.
Yeah, it controlled himself.
Yeah, but then he just went crazy. Like, proper. And it sounds like some real creepy stuff as well, because I think what's weird is, like, who's the lead on the Royals? Elizabeth Hugh Grant's, right? Yeah, Elizabeth Hurley.
Yeah.
Like, she was saying she hadn't heard anything about it, but another actress on the show said that she was creeped out by him.
Well, how old was the actress who came out and said stuff?
Well, I got young, probably. I'm guessing 20-something.
Well, Elizabeth Hurley's like in her 50s and she still looks damn good. I mean, you go on generally all through the summer, if you read in like any of the newspapers or online, there's always going to be like, oh, she's posted a bikini picture and it's age defying. That's all I ever hear about her for the past flipping couple years and stuff like that. So I mean, if this young woman's come out, because clearly he likes them young. The thing is, he probably thought, right, I've created this show, we've got some young attractive women, it's all going good, we're getting this CW money, making their careers. I mean, he probably figured, right, I'm gonna keep it to myself, and then, oh, we're in our third series, it looks like we're getting good leeway, we're probably going to be calm for the next 3-4 years, you know what I mean, depending on where it goes. Yeah, we're getting good viewership, good numbers. You owe me something, so now I'm going to try it on with you. That, to me, in my opinion, is what happened. Because, I mean, you kind of know, if he came out and did it straight away in the first season, that, like, he is like what I would call a super predator, because he probably thought, oh, I'm going to dash and run. And then I think, as kind of it started going on and it started gaining some traction and good viewers and stuff like that, and he knew it was going to be a long running show, we thought, oh, I might as well just start taking advantage. Is that something you agree with?
But that's like specifically Hillary Burton, though. We don't know if he was doing something to other people on the show, like specifically, writers or the crew, because it's not just her. Like, I think about 18 people all in all came out and said he was doing it. I think Hillary Burton said like he tried to make a move on her in like a limo or something. So it's not just like comments and stuff. He literally tried to make a move.
Yeah, I heard one story. Apparently, he kissed one of them, and it wasn't like, oh, hello, nice to meet you kind of thing. It was literally like a girlfriend thing, and then he slipped his hand down a waistband and stuff like that. So I mean, like kind of in front of people as well, because I think he was at a concert when it happened, like in front of people, like, I can do what I want, I don't care who's watching. That's super brazen. You know what I mean? You've got to have some chutzpah to kind of do that, because all the other stories that you hear about are kind of, oh yeah, in hotel rooms and stuff like that. So to be out in public, in bars, at concerts doing it, no shame springs to mind.
Yeah, and on set as well. It's like, it's hard to fathom how he could get away with it. I guess people were just so desperate to keep their job and they didn't want to ruin the show for everyone. I mean, he was the showrunner, but I mean, if they all did group together, if they, they've 18 of them come out and release a statement, which is good, and they should have done it. But I'm thinking, like, what would have happened if they did it when the show was on?
If they did it when the show was on, the show would have been killed there and then.
Probably, yeah.
Whether he came out and said that and was like, oh, if you tell anyone, but I don't think it was anything like that. I think, like, he didn't feel like he needed to. Maybe he's a bit delusional in a sense, like he didn't feel the need to threaten them into silence, that he thought they really were okay with it. Because, yeah, Hillary Burton says that apparently he sexually assaulted her in a limo when he started kissing her while she tried to fight him off. You know what I mean? So that's kind of under wraps, you know what I mean? That's not so public, but I have heard reports that allegedly he was a lot more brazen.
That's a difficult one. I don't... Because clearly if Elizabeth Hurley didn't know about it, he wasn't so open with it on that other show then, was he?
No,
I
guess
wonder...
not.
What I would like to hear is... You talk about Paul Johansson. I would like to hear statements from like the older actors on the show. Like him and the mothers of the two boys. Like, did they know about it? I mean, obviously I'm thinking Paul Johansson did then.
I don't think so. To me, I don't think they did, or they would have come out and said stuff. But I mean, if they knew about it, I think they would have done something about it. Especially the older women, no offence. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have they wouldn't have let it slide, because, being mothers and stuff like that, it would have been kind of more of a personal issue to them, in the sense that they would have brought it up. And I think the guys probably, working with them for such a long time and stuff like that, they probably would have swung them out.
Well, another one for the file.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that stuck out to you?
Oh, probably, but there's been so many of them I can't even know now. There was that weird one about that pop singer whose name escapes me.
Melanie Martinez.
That was an odd one. I don't know whether we should say there's only one person that's accused her of it, and I don't think anything legal's come of it. But that just popped up on Twitter and then disappeared for a while. I was like, I don't know what that's about.
Well,
I
apparently.
don't even know how to approach that one.
Well, apparently, yeah. I mean, it's coming out. Apparently, the accuser said she didn't say anything because she felt like she needed to protect her, which I guess is the kind of victim, the kind of Stockholm syndrome, I guess. But apparently, she used a sexual aid, so to speak, to assault her, even though they were kind of together at the time. Penetrated without consent. While Martinez came out on the December the 5th, responded by saying she was horrific and saddened by the accuser claiming that it had been consensual and that she had never said no to what we did together. So
Yeah, see, I don't know how to approach that one. That was odd.
Yeah, because apparently Martinez got in contact with her after a year of no contact last month when Hella tweeted her own story of abuse. So obviously she got nang and was like, according to the accuser, Martinez repeatedly tried to phone her and after being blocked texted the accuser's boyfriend. Martinez alleged that she had a dream about Hella which inspired her to get in touch. Yeah, I bet. That's a good one. I've never heard that one before. I promise I wasn't trying to silence her. I just had a dream, so I thought I've got to like get in contact with her. That's interesting. So yeah. So also in the news, sticking on the whole harassment thing, 6 women have filed class action lawsuits against super offender, allegedly, Harvey Weinstein, and they're going for a RICO kind of thing purely because of how we tried to silence accusers and kind of keep it stifled. So yeah, six women are filing a RICO class action lawsuit against him, which could be incredibly damaging. So I mean, that's, I guess, in response from the fact that the kind of legal deal with him has kind of ground to a halt recently, so this seems to be a response to it. So just when it looks like he's kind of wriggling free, so to speak.
This is always going to come, though, isn't it? They're always going to. The criminal case is difficult, but there's always going to be a class action thing. The difficulty that will come from it is on an individual basis. How do you prove it?
Well,
because clearly, I mean, we should say allegedly, but that aside, clearly he's a creep. It's just like, how do you prove that?
Well, that's the thing, because obviously the actual physical allegations and stuff like that of stuff he did with people, this, that and the other, is kind of ground to a halt. This is more direct to how we tried to cover it up and keep people silent and stuff like that. So this is a kind of more of a methodical thing, that if there's like emails knocking about or anything like that, blackmail material or stuff like, oh, if you say this, that or the other, this is going to happen, or I'll ruin your career and stuff like that. If there's any evidence of that, then, in terms of covering up or racketeering, as it were, then they'll screw him on that. So he'll get done with something, because there's a lot of layers to this. Because obviously there was originally, when the first story broke, there was a lot of focus on how a lot of people wanted to kind of break it, and it was covered up.
Like, I think like the burden of proof is different with a civil case than it is a legal one as well. I don't think there's as much to it, and rumours would help as well. How many people would end up filing a case though?
Oh well, there's
a crap ton of them.
Well, there's 6 already, and that's quite a lot. So I mean, really, it'd be easier, because like with the stuff happening physically, it's one of them things where you've got to be there to witness it, and it's my word against yours. But when we're talking covering up and keeping people quiet, there'd be audio, or like recorded phone calls, maybe emails and stuff like that. That's kind of harder to get rid of, so it's easier for kind of people to subpoena and get hold of. So there's more likely he'd get caught on that, as opposed to he said, she said kind of stuff. Because Jennifer Lawrence came out. I mean, this is kind of, I guess, related to Harvey Weinstein, but not to the investigation. But she was on Oprah, and she was saying how she was kind of surprised when the stuff came out. Yeah, he was a tough guy and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. But like she was surprised when rape was thrown about and stuff like that. So she was on Oprah discussing that with her. If anyone wants to kind of look into that further. So yeah, that kind of wraps up the kind of continued scandal and stuff like that. So is there anything else you want to discuss?
There was an interesting story on the BBC I just saw.
Okay.
It was about a mum saying she was being held back at work. But I don't know. I mean, does she have a point or not? I mean, what she's saying is she hasn't progressed into a management type role, or she hasn't been given further responsibilities, and it's because she's a mother, according to her, but she is part-time.
Well,
it's like, how do you know what I mean? How can you progress when you're part-time and you have a child as well? There are some realities to the situation.
To me, I understand that the kind of thing that what you've got to look at is, okay, you're doing your job and stuff like that, you get pregnant, then you're taking leave. I know a lot of people it's different. Some women go straight back to work like pretty quickly after, you know what I mean? So it's different. So I'm not painting with a broad brush, but they're out for however long their paternity leave is, and then they come back to work and stuff like that. And most times people are like, look, we've kind of got someone else in that was covering you, and they seem to do the job exactly the same, if not better. So you know what I mean, there's always that. To me, I mean, I would have gone along those lines until you said she's part-time and stuff like that. To me, that kind of seems like a kind of, I've not got what I want. Maybe it's not, but I'm saying, to me, purely because of the part-time, it's like, I want this, and it's not being handed to me, even though I've done this and I've done that. So now I'm going to come out and say, oh yeah, it's because I'm a mother, as opposed to, I've actually, it's just an excuse for, I want this job, they haven't given it to me, so I'm just going to claim, because of the kind of social economic climate, that I'm going to claim because I'm a mother, as opposed to the job that I'm actually doing.
See, that's what confuses me. I get having kids and trying to juggle that can be difficult, but what she says, I came to the realisation that because I was part-time, that I would never be considered for promotion. I realised it wasn't the right environment for me. And then she said the fact that she was a mum and her manager simply assumed she never wanted to progress in her career. But she's part-time.
Well, yeah.
But how much progression can you do when you're part-time?
She comes out and says, I realise there's not going to be much room for progression because I'm part-time. And then she starts talking about, well, you answered your own statement there. You know what I mean? You say it's because you're part-time, and now you just start talking about because you're a mother. I mean, which one is it? Why isn't she working full time then? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Is it like she's a
Well,
mother?
I guess it's because she wants to look after her kid.
Yeah, so that's her choice then. You know, when the
Right.
kid gets older and she starts working full time or picks up, you know, longer shifts or whatever, then maybe
But
they'll.
her
But
kid, according to this, her kid is 7.
who's ever heard of a part-time manager? Maybe
Exactly.
does it say she's a single parent or what? Because they leave that stuff out and you've just
Says
got to kind of
says
guess.
she has a 7-year-old with a partner, but it doesn't say whether. I assume by calling the guy a partner, that I assume it's a guy. By calling him a partner, they're still together.
Well, it might not be a guy. You never know.
I suppose.
Yeah, I'd suggest that they're still together. So maybe he's working, so she's
But
working.
she left and got another job, which she seems to be happy with, and that's fine. Good for her. It's just what confuses me is like how much progression can you do if you're part time?
Exactly, unless you're doing a full-time amount of working part-time. To me, that sounds really convoluted and just a story for the sake
Well,
of a
to be fair,
story.
that is part of what she's saying. Like she was getting a lot of responsibility and wasn't getting the pay to reflect that, or the work, I suppose.
Well,
But
why didn't she? Why is there no like section like, oh, I went to my manager a number of times and said this and said that, and like I asked for a promotion or I asked for a pay rise because you know it reflected the responsibilities of which I was undertaking. What's going on? But is there any of that in there? There's probably not, is there?
this is what it says here at the top. The 27-year-old mother who works part time is one of many women whose care and responsibilities have held them back. Fair enough.
No,
And it says
they
one
feel
in
like
4 firms consider if a woman has young children or is pregnant in promotion decision, blah blah blah. They're not going to basically, if they got kids, that's going to be a problem. That might be a thing, and
if
it's
they're
worth looking into. But what confuses me is this woman in particular is part time. How's she going to advance in management?
I agree with that. And my issue is that I understand if you're pregnant, yeah, but like I think if you're full time and you like, it's like just because you've got a kid and stuff like that, it seems to me like an excuse. You know what I mean? If you're working part time, then who's ever heard of a part time manager? You know what I mean? So
This is what it seems like. The article and this woman's story are 2 different things,
I
even
agree.
though they've put them both together. It
I
says
agree.
the research from a charity Young Women's Trust, based on interviews with 800 managers by polling, blah blah blah, found that a significant number were hesitant about hiring women in their 20s and 30s who might have children in the future. Fine,
Yeah,
there's a
because
story there to look into. But this woman is 27 and has a 7-year-old kid and was working part time. The two things don't jive.
exactly.
It's baffling. That's just lazy journalism. I don't even know who wrote this. It's stupid.
Yeah, I'll agree with that as well because alarm bells were ringing in the title and stuff like that. It's not like she's like, oh yeah, on numerous occasions I sat down and talked with my superior and was like this, and this. Why am I getting a pay rise? It's just like she's sat there, she's had these thoughts, she's kept it to herself, and then she's just gone to the newspaper and just spread it on. They're like, yeah.
No, it's basically like the whole thing amounts to being a mum has held me back at work. Well, that's because you can't work full time for some reason because you have a kid.
I think in that
What does that have
situation,
to do with them?
I think that in that situation, it's to quote a great man. It's like she wants her cake and eat it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I want to work part time, but I want £1 million a year working part time, and I want this, and this. And if you don't give it to me, it's purely because I've got a kid. That to me is like, see, the problem is like, some of these like surveys are really biased. I mean, if you grabbed a bunch of people from the city, you know, kind of finance and stuff like that, and polled them and they had kids and stuff like that, you'd find that, yeah, I've got a kid, but I balance it well so I can work full time and look after my kid, and I get promoted at work and I get pay rises and but then there's the 1 or 2 who kind of expect everything and don't get it and then just blame the fact they've had a kid on it. I don't rate that at all.
That's baffling. I still can't get over like how these two things just don't go together.
I'm
Like,
gonna,
how's this got? It's on the BBC. How's this got through an editor about someone saying like this doesn't make any sense?
I'm gonna say one thing and I'm gonna leave it at that. Hashtag fake news.
This woman wants a job. She should get one at the BBC website. Because clearly someone up there ain't doing it right.
See, I'd read through that and check how many spelling mistakes are in there.
That seems like perfectly well written. I don't know. It just seems like they were looking for a story to back up whatever thing it is they're peddling, which might be true, the overall story, but this woman's thing isn't.
I completely agree with that, and I mean, talking about stuff like that, I'd like to address the viewers, if you don't mind. My address would be mention in the comments any stories that you'd like us to kind of research and discuss and offer our opinions on there if there's like a big thing you want to talk about or an article that you've seen, so you know you can kind of weigh in and stuff like that, and your views on any of the stories we've kind of discussed already. But yeah, that story there was very convoluted. I mean, if we kind of get into business and finance, we touched on the Uber stuff. Bitcoin at the minute, you can't flipping go on much internet sites recently without hearing about Bitcoin. A couple of days ago it did take a bit of a drop, but it's been surging recently, and Wall Street, I guess the kind of financiers and people on Wall Street are kind of expecting big things, but the worry is it gonna be a bubble ready to burst? Because it surged a hell of a lot. The Winklevoss twins, you'll know, who kind of had their thing with Facebook creator Mark Zuckerberg, because apparently allegedly stole their idea. They're the first Bitcoin billionaires, having invested 11.5 grand. I think in 2011 they invested money from their settlement at Facebook, so they're the first Bitcoin billionaires. But I know a lot of people have kind of been looking at it as a balloon ready to burst. I mean, I've been following Bitcoin for quite a while now, and the kind of, in the early days, it'd be like one story had come out that didn't have to be allegedly true, and then it'd just drop all its value overnight, and it'd slowly climb and stuff like that. And I mean, the past couple of days, I think, is kind of fueled to speculation that it did take a bit of a hit, but I mean, it's been surging. So from last year, if you look at the numbers on how much it was worth to what it is now, it's been a massive spike over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I saw Steam just dropped it.
Oh, did
You
they?
can't use it on. Yeah, they did. Because I guess it's like unstable. I think they said it financially or something like that.
Yeah, I think it has to be. I mean, the second as it is, you know, it's going to surge even more. But I think kind of a lot of people don't really know how to think about it. A lot of people do think it's a kind of.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure either. I still can't quite grasp what it is. It sounds like a video game thing to me.
I understand how it works and stuff like that, but it kind of, in terms of being accepted as legal tender and a lot of things, I mean, like any other currency, it'd need to be regulated, but I don't know whether to be regulated it'd kind of break the whole thing of its being a cryptocurrency and being kind of having its anonymity in terms of moving from user to user. So I think that's the issue it has, and I can see why some people are dropping it. It's always kind of been unstable, but I think now a lot of people are looking at it, now it's surging. But yeah, people are making money of it. I mean, if you invested a long time ago, now it's starting to pay off. If I was the Winklevoss twins, I'd take that. I'd take the money they made and leave it at that. You know what I mean?
Cash in before it all goes. Yeah.
Even if it doesn't go, I mean, still, I mean, out of you know, from 11.5 grand to $1 billion, you know, that's like,
why risk it? Take your money.
Exactly, take it, and I imagine they've got a ton of other stuff to invest in, and then just get back in when it's safer, as it were.
See, that's not bad for me. It's like, why even get back in? It's like, you're billionaires, you're done.
Yeah, I completely. One's too much and 1,000's never enough. But I mean, if there is stability, it's going to surge. I mean, really what they need is, now they've got a lot of attention, to kind of go to a big company, maybe kind of PayPal or some financial thing, and get it like in shops and stuff like that. Maybe the whole contactless stuff, and kind of go from there. You see adverts on YouTube and stuff like that where people are like got apps on their phone, and they're kind of, buying stuff via contactless on their phone using Bitcoin and stuff like that. But I'll agree that at the moment, unless it's like kind of regulated as other currencies in the sense of stability, I think there's always a chance of the bubble bursting. But I mean, for Steam dropping it, that to me, I think it's because of the surge, is working against them. I mean, really, you'd kind of look at it and think, oh, everyone's going to pick it up. But now I feel it's more drawing attention to the fact that it could drop any moment. I don't really know how to feel about it. But I mean, for now, I'd say it was a good time to invest, just to make some quick cash. You know what I mean? Drop a lump sum in, let it shoot up for a week, and then cash out. You know what I mean? Because really, it is kind of all over the place. I think, to me, it's interesting because I think it's the way to go. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of benefits to it, and I think it could be adapted quite well. But it's one of them things for the younger generation are probably into, but it's not really that hard to explain, but it's a kind of thing of like learning it. And now you're kind of getting the contactless payments and stuff like that, kind of finance, how you pay for stuff's kind of evolving. So I'd say it's the way to go. But yeah, the instability is a problem, and I think a lot of people are looking at. So I mean, if you want to make some quick money, go ahead. But I mean, the real winners are the people who just chuck a couple of hundred on it 10 years ago, and now it's really starting to pay off.
Yeah. Here's something that confuses me. It's like the Sussex police, right, have apologised to Crystal Palace and Brighton because of false reports that weapons were found clashes at the game. And it's saying...
What kind of weapons?
Knives and knuckle dusters. Right, and they're saying there's a statement here from the old bill saying the reference to weapons being found and discarded at the stadium following the match, blah, 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 was logged by our officers on the night and done so in good faith. And then it was found that that wasn't true at all. How does that happen? How does a police officer say, yo, we found some knuckle dusters and knives, and it turns out they never did? How does that happen in good faith?
Well, how does it affect anything? Was there like a mass evacuation of the stadium or stuff like that? Were people arrested? Or was it just like, oh, it's been a quiet night, I'm just, you know what I mean? I ain't got much to do. I'm just going to say we found some knives and knuckle dusters.
It wasn't during the game. It was after. Apparently there were clashes, between rival sets of fans and whatnot.
What,
it happens every now.
In the stands or outside?
Outside.
Oh, maybe they were just trying to hot it up, I guess. I don't really...
Oh, it's before the game. Before the game, outside. But yeah.
Oh.
I don't get how the false report happens.
Maybe they were hoping the game was going to get shut down. Maybe they had some money riding on it. And by the way, any international viewers, old Bill's gangster talk for the police.
Indeed.
No, to me that stinks of they've got... I mean, that's a dumb... I wouldn't touch that story, but I get the kind of mystery of, they report it before the game, nothing happens, it doesn't affect anything, and then what, did they just turn up with empty evidence bags?
No, well, because it turns out that I think there were, from what I can tell, I do remember reading about it, there were some clashes between the supporters, but what's false is the weapons, they were never there, apparently. And the police have apologised for it. How do you report weapons that were never there?
Maybe they got really confused.
Well, they must have got bloody confused. They thought someone was waving a knife around when it weren't.
Yeah, because, I mean, if they logged it and stuff like that, then they know they've got to, produce stuff. And then they're like, what? Did they lose it? Is this like a cover-up? Did they find the stuff, but they just happened to lose it?
The same says the reference to weapons being found discarded at the stadium. So that's saying they found
Stuff
weapons in the stadium.
Or like in the grounds. Like the problem is, the car park and stuff like that. They could claim that as a stadium, and by discarded, like what, in the bins, under
I guess.
chairs. I mean, that to me is really vague. I don't get, like, to me, how did it affect anything?
So that's even worse, isn't it? It's like, I was thinking what he was saying when I first read it. What he was saying was that the police had spotted someone with a knife or someone with a knuckle duster, and then they dived in. But no, what it's actually saying is the police found the weapons at the stadium.
Yeah, like afterwards.
And that was logged, and that was logged and recorded, except they didn't.
Yeah, so they knew there were clashes, and then when they cleared everything out, when they started patrolling afterwards, they found some knives and knuckle dusters near the bins, but they didn't.
Or somewhere, but they didn't, apparently.
Well,
How does that get logged in good faith? That's baffling.
Yeah, that is kind of dumb.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, that don't make no sense at all.
It doesn't.
They knew they would have had to have produced the stuff. So like what, they walk into the police station with nothing, and it's like, aye, over here we've got where are the knuckle dusters and knives? It's like, we didn't actually find them. It's like, what were you looking at then? Was it low light? You know what I mean? Was it a cardboard cutout? It sounds to me like maybe they were trying to hype up the incident, and then they were like, oh, by the way, you do actually need to produce stuff. Oh, whoops, there's nothing there. So yeah.
That's crazy. You want to be careful with that stuff with football, especially though after Hillsborough and whatnot.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd say that's our final report. That's all the kind of latest news coverage, and a kind of quirky story there at the end. A kind of common interest one there in terms of women in the workplace, and then obviously the main big story is an economical update. We'll catch you next time, hopefully. And don't forget to drop in the comments any suggestions or anything like questions on any news stories that you've heard, or you want our opinions.
Yeah, or correct us politely about something we said wrong.
Yeah. I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
And we'll see you next time for more off topic, on point. Holla.
Definitely not the GOP.